So apparently Marvel's Wolverine went gold ahead of its September launch, so the hype train is moving at an absolute warp speed, but there is also tons of community backlash, so it leads me to ask this one question. Is Wolverine actually going to be better than Spider-Man? You know, both are made by Insomniac, and people love comparing Insomniac's upcoming projects to what came before. So before we even think about crowning Logan over Peter Parker, we have to take a step back and look at what Insomniac built and where things started to slip. So today we're talking about why Wolverine probably won't top the first Spider-Man, why comparing them is kind of unfair in the first place, and why this game is an absolute make or break moment for Insomniac Games. But if you guys don't know me by now, I'm Mr. Frosty Flames, but you can call me Mike. We do anything gaming news, reviews, playthroughs, etc. And we do it in a chill way. So if you enjoy that style of content, be sure to hit that sub button and join the Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. Anyways, let's get back to the video. So to understand why people are setting the bar impossibly high for Marvel's Wolverine, we have to remember how unbelievable the original Marvel Spider-Man was back in 2018. That first game was lightning in a bottle. The web swinging felt revolutionary. The story genuinely hit you in the chest. I remember like tearing up when it gave us that Aunt May scene, you know, in Peter Parker where she like croaked, you know? And it gave us the definitive modern version of Peter Parker, the best Peter Parker in my opinion. It felt complete, polished, and full of heart. But then we had Spider-Man 2, and let's be real for a second, while it was a fun blockbuster game, it sort of fell off compared to the first one. You know, the story tried to juggle Kraven and the symbiote storyline, which made the pacing feel rushed and compressed, and on top of that you have to balance two characters and two character arcs in the same amount of time that, you know, Spider-Man 1 had to just balance one character, Peter. That's why Spider-Man 1 was written so well. It's because you just played as Peter and he was fleshed out. In this one you played as Miles and Peter, and don't get me wrong, they're both very good characters. I love them both. However, you have the same runtime for about what, like 20 hours or something. I don't remember the exact numbers, but you know, you had to juggle both of those characters in that 20 hours. So that's like what, 10 hours per character? So you don't get that much, you know, development per character in Spider-Man 2. That's why people said that it was rushed and compressed. And the biggest pain point for a lot of fans, I got a lot of comments on this before, there were zero DLC in Spider-Man 2. No post-launch expansions to like flesh out the world or give us more time to the characters like the first game did, or just give us a reason to come back to Spider-Man 2 like how Spider-Man 1 did. There was just nothing. Because of that slight stumble in Spider-Man 2, confidence in Insomniac kind of went down and their track record took a minor hit. That's why pressure on Wolverine is now higher than ever. And then you have Wolverine versus Spider-Man, right? Now, is it even fair to pit Wolverine against Spider-Man? Probably not, because they're entirely different genres and styles of games. You know, Spider-Man is an open world physics driven sandbox where traversal is like half the fun, built around aerial combos and lighthearted hero banter. And then you could look at Wolverine, and Wolverine is a completely different beast. You know, it's linear, gritty, bloody, there's action, you know, it's built on a mature action adventure focused on brutal close quarters combat. You're slicing through enemies with adamantium claws and dealing with Logan's dark past across places like Madripoor, and comparing a joyful web-slinging simulator to a rated M berserker rage fest is apples to oranges, like come on. However, as gamers are dropping $70 on a brand new PlayStation exclusive, we are naturally going to measure them against each other because they come from the exact same studio. And especially how, you know, rumors are going around that the game is only going to be 12 to 15 hours long. Like, come on, man. If I want a linear story, I get it. It's going to be like 007. It's going to be like Resident Evil Requiem, where those games are naturally shorter, but people still love them. They still think it's really good because the pacing is tight and, you know, you get a good story. However, with a game like Wolverine and all this time cooking in the oven, all this hype, I really preferred if this game leaned towards more the 15 to 20 hour length. However, I'm still going to play it. I'm still gonna have my optimistic, you know, hopes, right? I want the story to be good. I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be a spectacle, especially when you're fighting with Sabretooth, when you're fighting with Mystique, and you're fighting with Jean Grey. I'm gonna love it. I feel like, especially if, you know, we get more DLC for Wolverine, I would love that too. If we get a DLC where, say, we play as Jean Grey or something, or maybe a side story with maybe some other X-Men characters, because we know that they are in this universe already. I mean, I think it was Caboose Caboose, you know that YouTuber Caboose, he played Wolverine early and he's seen that, you know, some other X-Men were already in the game. Like, you could find Easter eggs like a card signed by Remy LeBeau, and as you guys know, that is Gambit. You could see other characters in the bar, right? Other X-Men characters. So I would love a DLC where maybe you could find Gambit, maybe you do a mission with him or something, or maybe you could play as some other characters. Something that adds more content and more depth into the game. I don't care if I'm gonna have to be paying more. I know I'm part of the problem because I'm just basically giving Insomniac all my money, but I am a YouTuber, you know, I like to play these games, I like to review them for y'all, I like to cover the news, so I feel like I kind of have to, right? But you know, I do it because I love Marvel too, and I want to support them, and I have my hopes up that it is gonna be good. I think it's gonna be better than Marvel's what was it, Spider-Man Miles Morales. That game was $50. It was a good price point because it was only 8 to 12 hours, but if you platted it, like, which I did, I think you're gonna be going up to like the 20-hour range, or maybe like 15 to 20 hours. However, you know, I think Wolverine is going to be better than that game, but I don't know if it's going to be better than, say, Marvel's Spider-Man or Marvel's Spider-Man 2 even, right? Because what made the original Spider-Man so hard to beat wasn't just the mechanics, in my opinion, it was the emotional resonance. You know, that ending with Aunt May and Peter's sacrifice, it set a narrative standard that superhero games rarely touch. Wolverine doesn't need to copy that emotional beat per se, but it does need to deliver a character study that feels just as deep. Logan is a tragic character, even in the movies and in the comics and in the shows. If Insomniac just turns this into like a brainless slice and dice simulator without leaning into his humanity, the narrative weight will fall flat. And on top of that, the movement is going to be the biggest adjustment for players, I think, too, because going from full vertical freedom across Manhattan to a grounded linear level design means that the combat and level interaction have to carry 100% of the engagement. If the claw mechanics get stale halfway through the campaign, players are going to miss the sandbox freedom instantly. And if you watch some like early previews from Caboose and SkillUp, a lot of people are saying that, you know, the combat just goes down to just pressing square, 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 square. And you know, this isn't Spider-Man, so he doesn't have like gadgets or anything, so those are replaced by like abilities that are based off of like cooldowns. You know, like you would do an ability, then maybe you would have to wait like 90 seconds and it becomes available again. Now, I don't know if that direction is right for Wolverine, because I don't want to be just like managing cooldowns, doing the same like abilities over and over and over again, pressing square over and over and over again, man. I want something else, something more flashy, something that basically means that, like, something like Arkham, you know, where you're pressing all these different buttons to achieve a combo, something cool, because I would be very disappointed if, you know, this combat, this brutal, awesome looking combat just goes stale in like 5 hours, man. That would suck. So despite all these worries, let me make one thing crystal clear. I am massively optimistic about this game. Like I said, you know, I am playing it day one. I'm genuinely hoping that they surprise us with post-launch DLC, and I really want this game to be a masterpiece because I want to keep the experience alive. Logan deserves a legendary solo game, and I want Insomniac to stick the landing. But what do you guys think? Do you think Wolverine has a shot at being better than the original Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2? Or are you guys thinking that it's just going to be like a mid-game? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. But if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to smash that like button, leave a comment of your thoughts, and subscribe to join the Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. I appreciate the support, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Mr. Frosty Flames out. Yeah.